Thank you. And actually, it's really Sherry Kuhn. That's all right. Kuhn. I was married a year ago, so I've been a dudek a long time, so it's a totally doable thing. So in addition to all the other things that I've got going on right now, I decided to create a planner. And my planner journey really started, I want to say about 3.5 years ago now, when two of my good friends, one of them's here right now, Miss Delcy Prophet, and Felicity Saberhagen and I were working out, and the three of us women were feeling a little bit stuck. You know, we all wanted to do more with our lives. We all thought we could be more and be better. And we just were feeling unsatisfied. So we thought, you know what? We need a night of goal planning. And what goes better with goal planning than wine and chocolate? So we created a night of goal planning, wine and chocolate. And unbeknownst to Felicity and I, Delcy had already tapped into this thing called a passion planner. And she had recreated the first couple of mind mapping pages in that. And so we show up, and she's got this exercise ready for us. And if she could have seen the inside of my brain, she would have seen my eyes rolling, like, for real. I don't need to write down my goals. I'm not that person. Right? I have a good memory. Who needs to write things down? But I thought, all right, Delcy went through a lot of trouble. Let's do this activity. It was fantastic. It got all these juices flowing. It got all these ideas out on paper. And then what I do, and still do for a little while, for a company called Orchard Corset, the way that we implement our business is a system called EOS. And one of the tools we use in that are these things called quarterly rocks. These are just your most important priorities for the quarter to get you where you're going. So I said, well, let's take this one step further. Why don't we all decide what our personal rocks are for the quarter, and then you email those to me, and we'll set up our next meeting for next quarter. And we've now been doing that for over 3 years. We meet every quarter. That first quarter we did that, I wrote down things for my quarterly rocks that were things I had put off doing for years. Getting a financial planner. Instead, you know, I just buried my head in the sand. I'm sure retirement will be fine. Been needing to do that for about 8 years. Wanted to start a leadership roundtable group in Wenatchee. But I was a little bit afraid to reach out to people, like who's going to show up for that. Had wanted to do that for a couple of years. So all these things I put down, knowing I had to go back to these two people in 3 months and look them in the eye and tell them whether or not my rock was done or not done, I got all those things done. I got more done in those 3 months than probably the 3 years prior to that when it comes to those really big, important things that I needed to do in my life. So then I was sold. All right, writing goals down. Well, it turns out that writing your goals down actually increases your chances of achieving them by 42%. And it does that because when you're just thinking about your goals, your right hemisphere is all over that. It's looking around and it sees those opportunities for you. As soon as you write something down, it now crosses over into your left hemisphere. So now your whole brain is out there, even subconsciously, trying to get those goals done for you. So we've been using that planner for a few years. Fast forward to last November of 2018, and I go to buy my new planner, and all they had available was this little size. I'm a big planner size girl. I don't want to have to read print that's this tiny or write in little spaces that I can't read. So I was really irritated, and I thought, come on. Well, it had a lot of things I was kind of jury-rigging together anyway. It wasn't set up in quarters. So I was kind of makeshifting some things in the planner anyway, and I thought, well, this is a great opportunity for me to go out and find a planner that actually does all the things that I know a planner should do. I do a lot of reading and a lot of research for how to be more productive, and I had sort of incorporated a lot of those things into my life. So I went to find a planner that did all those things. And I couldn't find one anywhere. It didn't exist. I did find a couple of ones that were set up in that 90-day world. I know how well that works because of how we operate our business. But they also were small and didn't have the other things in there. So I thought, I'll just make my own. How hard can that be? It's really hard, in case you're wondering. It seems so easy. You know, I'm sketching out these pages on my yellow pad. I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I have zero design capacity, so I'm inside of Google Slides. I'm trying to create these pages. Found a great designer out of Upwork to do that for me. I feel like he's a third partner with Amy and I. Amy Lewis over there has been my sweat equity partner. Wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her, because she can create landing pages and do all the fun, cool, techie stuff that I have zero capacity to do. So since that time, I think we are now on version 27 or 28. We actually we created a little 6-month version of them and handed them out to about 20 different people to beta test and get feedback for. And we just kept, you know, improvising and changing and making changes and making it better, so that we really do now have what we would consider to be a perfect planner. This is my final physical prototype of what the planner will look like. Feels like leather, but it's not. It has 3 ribbons in it to save your places, and it has this handy pocket here in the back. It's fantastic. So Amy and I started a Kickstarter campaign. And we have learned a lot about Kickstarter. Now, we studied Kickstarter before we went into this, and we were reading all the best practices for that. We really thought we had this dialed in. Well, we're still in the middle of it, and if we could go back 3 weeks and do it again, we would. Any of you that have tried to do that, it tells you set your dollar amount low, set your dollar amount low. We thought we were setting our dollar amount low. We wish we'd even set it lower because it looks better than when you hit it and pass it rather than trying to climb to reach it. And Kickstarter, for those of you that don't know, doesn't fund at all if you don't hit your target. All the money just goes back. So we're going to make sure that it gets funded one way or the other, right? Because we've already got a lot of that into there. We did a big Kickstarter launch party here. That was Amy's brilliant idea. That was fantastic because it incorporated our community, and it did give us a great jump right off the bat when we did that. I have access to this beautiful ballroom that I can do things like that in. So that is kind of where we're at now. The other part of Kickstarter that we really had underestimated is the amount of time it takes to get out there and really promote what you're doing. So if you're not doing something that's really flashy and techy, it's hard to even get people to slow down long enough to see what it is you're offering to get them out there. So content, you're constantly creating that. And anyway, we have jobs, right? Actually, I have 2. And so that in and of itself is almost a full-time job. So that's not a very smooth segue, but that's where we're at right now. Nothing smooth in entrepreneurship. I'm new into entrepreneurship, so questions? Does it end on this? 12 or 13. Right. I'll tell you for sure. Okay. We started on the 18th of July, and it's a 30-day campaign, so yeah. Well, outside of this, no. Amy just created this really fantastic whiteboard video, which I think, I don't know about you, but when I'm scrolling through, those are things that make me stop and look and want to read. So that just went live yesterday, and I just boosted that. You know, what I do for my day job, and what's allowed me to do this, is I run an e-commerce company. We outsource our products, and we do a lot of social media. So I know how to do that. I knew how to go out and get manufacturing. I knew how to go out and find design work, or this would never have happened because that would have been a really costly endeavor to try to learn those things. And same with the social marketing. So yes, we just launched that yesterday, and we're hopeful that that one. So it's one of those cool, it's like that you see that come up and it just looks like somebody's drawing on a whiteboard with black and words pop in, and instead of having real people on there. I really like the woman that Amy chose to be me because yeah, I was like, cool.
So what does it say?
So basically what the whiteboard video does is explains to people why this works. So why the planner in our minds works is because it takes you from the long-term goals that you might have. We get you started by doing all this brainstorming, not even reality to begin with, just put everything out there. And then we do really what we do in EOS, which just stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and we sort of reverse engineer that. So we figure out, all right, what is this big long-term goal for you? What's the most important thing and in what time frame? Is it 10 years? Is it 15? What is that for you? And then we're going to step it back and say, all right, if this is where you want to be then, in 3 years from now, what does your life need to look like?
Go to that page on there because we're just looking for it.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Amy. Well, I should actually do it in this version right here because these pages have been changed in the beginning. I had to make a few changes to make EOS happy. So once you're done brainstorming here, now you're going to figure out what does my life need to look like in 3 years. In EOS, we call that your 3-year picture.
I'm going to hold it up for you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, be a little bit.
Oh, Vanna White, everyone. Good job, Vanna. So once you're 3 years dialed in, then you're like, all right, that's where I want to be in 3 years. Let's create a 1-year plan. What needs to happen in the next year to set me on the path to achieving those 3-year? So then you break those down into your 3-month chunks, right, and set those out. And then we've gone through and helped you to really plan those out in your month and then in your week. I learned about this cool thing called deep work, where you just work uninterruptedly. So I created that in your weekly schedule to where you really prioritize what are the most important things that you need to get done and plot those out first in your week. It's what I do anyway. It would be a lot easier for me to do it if I had a place to do it and I wasn't having to scribble all over my planner and create those spaces for myself. Because sometimes you forget. You get really busy and you fall off the wagon of what you know you should be doing. If it's right there for you each and every week, it's harder to fall off the wagon. If you kind of create your own path, remove some resistance for yourself, take away the friction, you'll get more done. So where Amy and I are at right now is really getting that awareness to the Kickstarter. We actually think we have a really killer product and we're going to make it go. Ultimately, we actually want this to be licensed. I don't want to run another business. I only did this because I really needed one, right? I was unhappy with what was out there. I know how much value it has brought to my life, in particular in the last 3.5 years. I must have sold probably 3 dozen passion planners to people, right? Because I thought, hey, everybody I knew, you should go get one of these. It's amazing when you take the time to write things down, which I had poo-pooed my whole life, right? It took me to almost 50 before I realized there's a real value in that, and that it isn't just for some people, it's really for everyone. It's just all about being intentional. So our biggest kind of, as I was talking about earlier, we didn't really understand how much time there was going to be involved in keeping that 30-day push in the Kickstarter. You just have to be on it pretty much every day, out there, putting your word out there every day. Right, and how do you generate that? You know, it has to, obviously my client base isn't here in Wenatchee, but it starts here with your people, right? Your own tribe is what's going to grow whatever business, wherever you're at. 7 maybe? 6 or so? Yeah.
7.
No, well, although there is a video, every page will have a video that's just free to you to look at to help facilitate that process for people that don't like to read. But no, it's just a planner.
Well,
Except in the Kickstarter. In the Kickstarter.
Right.
So if you all go out and look at the videos we have now and tell us if we've done that, that would be great.
We have.
Yeah, okay. So maybe we need a group video. Maybe Felicity and Delcy and I should do one. Right, and it isn't just for women, but I find that women are more receptive to wanting to carry, especially a full-size planner around and write in it. And I do have a call today with a woman that runs what's called a female integrator mastermind group. So an integrator is my role at Archer Corset, and she saw that on LinkedIn and said, I think all the women in my group. So that hopefully will be fruitful today. So we really are targeted on professionals. I'm not looking for somebody that's right out of college. You know, I am the target audience, and that's who I've gone after. So I'm not going to create an academic version of it. Like, this is for people like me, and that is my target audience. And so my message has been to that, but it's been really helpful to hear, you know, I already own that emotional piece of this. I understand that. Then we have not done a good job of conveying that to the people who want it. So even in our Facebook marketing, that is who we are targeting. We are targeting entrepreneurs. We are targeting people that are, you know, 30 up, and, you know, I'm not looking for, I think the Passion Planner is really targeted for that college kid and the kid coming right out of school, and it's fantastic for that. I have a really good idea in my brain who my target audience is, and that's who I'm going after. I don't want to be all things to all people. That is a huge mistake. So that's actually what we teach people when I work with leadership teams is, what is your core focus? Who are you? Stay in your lane. Yep. Right. So inside of Kickstarter, I'm not sure how to do that other than you use the Kickstarter video and links that you have in your paid Facebook advertising. And those are the target markets that we are targeting when we, you know, you can create your audience inside of Facebook. And that is what we're doing. And for those of you that don't know, in addition to, Kickstarter is a pretty risk-free investment for people. Like, if it doesn't fund, your money goes back. And if I don't ship my product to you, your money comes back. right? It's not really risky to invest in Kickstarter. And any small business in this town, and I think there are several of you in here right now, if you see that business show up anywhere on your social media, it is hugely beneficial to them if you interact with it in any way. If you think, even if it's not a product you would use, but you believe in that person and you believe in that product just because you don't want to go and have a spray tan or whatever it might be, if you share, like, comment on that, it's very helpful to that small business owner in your community because Facebook sees that and sees that post as more relevant, and then it lets other people see that. So that's really a powerful benefit to any small business owner here. For those of you that don't understand how social media works, that is how, especially ever since they monetize themselves, very few people see a post that goes out there if you're not engaging with it. So what would have really helped us would have been to actually have enough real prototypes in our hands before we started the Kickstarter. But it takes a long time. These are being manufactured out of China, so right now there's all of that. And getting those here, because because of what I do at Orchard Corset, I actually have some very influential people out there in the world of social media that would be happy to do something with this if I could have gotten it to them in time. So they will have it post-Kickstarter, and that's really going to help us when the actual product is just being sold on a website. But we didn't have enough of those, and I couldn't really push the Kickstarter out any further, or I would have, because I want to make sure that the product is here and in-house and ready to ship. And we're shipping by sea and not by air, because it cuts about 2/3 off your shipping cost to get it here when you do that. So that was the reason that we forced the Kickstarter to happen when it did, and we just didn't have all the things that we really needed to have in place to make that happen. And we've learned a lot. And if we had had all of this information in advance of the Kickstarter, that would have been fantastic.
But we didn't know what we needed to know.
I know, you don't know what you don't know. So $35 to $40 is our retail price on that. And there'll be bulk discounts, and then I think we're going to do if you refer this many people, then get a free one for the following year. That's a great way to grow your loyalty. Better result, yeah, of goals when you write them down. Yep. And the same isn't true when you type them. I've asked people if I'm going to make this an app.
Yeah.
And so that, if it gets funded to a point, right, if it had a companion app, I wouldn't want it to be a standalone app. I feel like you need to write things down, but then you could use that to auto-populate out, because there's pages in there to help you set up your quarter for success. If you just did that and then it populated it where it needed to go, that could be pretty powerful. But that's a feature. I'm actually going to give away this. So this is a prototype that's just been made here in Wenatchee, which is why it's not fancy and pretty. And it doesn't start till January, of course, but it has all the right pages in it. It just isn't all put together with lots of pretty ribbons and a pocket and all of that. So if you haven't already done so and you think you want to win one, I'm going to let somebody over here choose one. We'll collect a card from you and put it in here. Because I happen to have an extra, so we might as well give it to somebody. Well, I got a lot of really good information today, and Amy was taking copious notes. I just think that I really appreciate the feedback on creating that message to bring in that feeling that Delcy and Felicity and I had. So we just had to figure out if we can do that very quickly in the next couple of days, get that done and get that out there. I don't know, Amy, is there anything, if you see it out there on social media, that would be the big thing. Like it and share it and comment. That goes a huge way. That little tiny act right there is really beneficial.